Well, hello there. Quick story about my Friday night last night. Something I feel I must do for people. You may not be interested, you may not even watch this, but if you do, I would strongly recommend if this gentleman comes to your town, you do what I did last night and go out and see him. Went to watch the great Francis Rossi last night of Status Quo fame. What a wonderful, wonderful evening. I could not believe, well, I probably did believe, I've seen him before. I've seen him doing his book tour about a year or two ago, just after COVID. But anyway, went to see him last night at a local venue. Just himself and another guitarist with acoustic guitars. I say acoustic, I think they class as semi-acoustic because I think they're plugged in, but they're not fully fledged electric guitars. Two guitars, no backing tapes, no drums, no bass, no nothing else. Played about 16 songs in two, I would suggest probably 50-minute sets. About 16 songs. Told many stories. Many stories. Had great interaction with the crowd, as Rossi seems to be able to do. And answered some questions that came up from the audience. That part of it only lasted about a quarter of an hour. Really insightful, really good, really enjoyable. I mean, I've got to confess, I'm a Status Quo fan. Along with many other bands, have been for many a year. Loved them since being a 16, 17-year-old kid. But they went through a range of songs last night. Many I've not heard for years. Of the 16 songs, there probably have been, and I've bought many LPs of theirs. These were 2 or 3 I didn't know. There was a couple I barely knew. There was about 3 I've not heard for years that were brilliant. But just an absolutely wonderful night. He's professional. He's brilliant at what he does. He's a great orator. He's a great talker. He's funny. I mean, he's funny throughout. He really is a funny guy. He just does it all. He offers it all. I mean, there's not a minute of I think it probably lasted about, there was an interval of about 15 minutes, and I think the show lasted about an hour 50. That was on top of the 15 minutes. There wasn't a minute or two there where you were bored or in any way, shape or form looking at your watch thinking, what time is it? How long will it be till it ends? It's just a brilliant show. Honestly, if you get the chance to see it, please go and watch it. You will not be disappointed. Ticket prices in this day and age are really fair. You can get great seats for around about 30 quid. Honestly, please, just go and watch it. I don't know if it was the first or second song they did. It might have been the third song, although I feel it was the first. It was only last night. As I say, my memory's awful. They did, what's the very old song that, before they started the rock phase, Pictures of Matchstick Men. They did Pictures of Matchstick Men early on, and the sound was absolutely amazing. I was looking around me. There was a big speaker either side of the stage, just set away from the stage, hanging from the ceiling, which I guess was their own speaker, but maybe not. I don't know if they played with a PA behind them or if they were the only speakers, but if they were, the sound was absolutely fantastic. The other guy that played guitar with him had a standard microphone. Rossi had one of these little things, that little pimple that comes to his mouth there from a headpiece. I didn't know you could get that kind of sound quality with one of those things. You know, I was brought up where a Shure SM58 was a brilliant mic, and there weren't many better than that. And if you had a poor mic, it really shone in your vocals. But if you had a 58 or better, you sounded great. I didn't realise that the kind of mic that Rossi had last night could be as great sounding. But so they did Pictures of Matchstick Men, and it was absolutely brilliant. And it set it up for a wonderful night. So as I say, if you get the chance to go and watch him, please go and watch him. He's in many towns now up until about October. I mean, he's very much like myself. I think he calls himself a grumpy old sod. I'm classing myself as a grumpy old git. He can class himself whatever he wants because he's a little bit older than me. But I mean, there's another thing. 73 years of age he is. Now, all right, he's not had to sing massively high vocals where people tend to lose them high notes. He's never been a screamer, but his voice sounds like spot on. It sounds as good as ever it sounded. There's very few 70-year-olds on the circuit that sound anywhere near as good as they did many years ago. There's virtually none. I can think of 1 or 2. I can tell you 1 or 2 that aren't far off, and I can tell you 10 or 20 that are miles away. But I won't embarrass people at this moment in time. But Rossi, voice fantastic. His wit and repartee as fantastic as ever. Absolutely Loved him. As I say, if you get a chance, go. If you come back disappointed, just give me a phone call and I'll refund your money personally. What's that? You've not got my number, you say? Sorry about that. Right, I'll get off anyway. Go watch him!